is it?
Passa, passa.
Time.
Passa, passa.
Time. Every gal, every gal, every gal, every gal. I go me a
Passa, passa.
Stop, girl, wine, drink and feel like it. Drink and rave till the morning light, my girl. Center.
Hey, welcome and thank you for tuning in today. You are in for a treat. Before I get into that though, let's do roll call for our listening audience. Let's start with Carrie. Carrie?
Hey guys.
Soph?
Hi.
Shar?
Here.
Great. So for the first time on our podcast, we are having some testosterone. Okay, so we realized after we reviewed last season's content that we haven't really covered dating and marriage specifically, but didn't really want to introduce it just from our lens. So we thought it was important to explore the male perspective. So this brings us to our guest today. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Okay, so today we wanted to share the experiences of these gentlemen with you. They are some of the most conscientious men in our circle who bring tremendous insight, and they're overall amazing humans. So we wanted to ask you guys to do a brief introduction of yourselves. Make sure you include your marital status, and I guess it's our custom for anyone that joins us, we'd like you to also include your love language. We believe this is helpful because it gives us some insight into the relationship outlook. Okay, let's start with Daron. Hi, Daron.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Darren Hill, and of course, I am the husband of Sophia.
Hey.
So, of course, I'm married, of course. Love language for me is primarily words of affirmation, encouragement, inspiration, and so on. So, primarily, there may be others, but that's primarily what it is.
Okay. Anything else you want to share about yourselves? About yourself? I guess not selves. Just you. We care about you. We don't care about self today.
Wow. Rough out here.
Of course, I'm a pastor, evangelist, public speaker, and life skills coach. And from time to time, I've had the privilege, indeed, of having these kinds of conversations in one way or another with individuals. I actually do enjoy this kind of conversation. Sometimes it's conversation, sometimes it's presentation, but I do enjoy it. And I to have fun and give trouble around the house.
It's true.
Great. Okay, Ralph, we'll go over to you. You want to introduce yourself?
Hola, me llamo Rafael Gomez, soy soltero.
Oh, Jesus.
Hi, my name is Rafael Gomez. I'm single. I was actually married, divorced, and now I'm single. And my love language, not to verse on that, but it has to do something with spending time.
Okay, quality time.
Quality time.
Quality time, yes. I like all of your time. No, I'm just kidding. But I do like, when compared to the other languages, I think the time is what impacts me the most. So that's my language.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to share?
I think I have a lot to share going forward in this.
Okay. All right. So I really don't want to waste any more time going into any backstories. We really have so much to cover. You know, dating and marriage is a really heavy topic. So we really just want to jump right into it. So let's start with the easiest question. Raise your hand if you do not believe in the conventional definition of marriage, which really just means if you don't believe in being married to one person, really as a legal institution with a ceremony. If you don't believe in that, raise your hand. Okay.
Don't believe?
If you don't believe in that.
Like if you don't think it's important?
Or you just don't believe in marriage. If you don't believe in marriage, what people consider marriage, then raise your hand. You don't. Okay, Carrie, we will start with you. Okay. Why? Yes.
I'm very
Because
curious too, because
I'm
don't believe.
curious to know what part of marriage you don't believe in or why you don't believe in marriage.
I think the part that I don't agree with from your statement is this, I guess, conventional idea about marriage. I think I'm more interested in partnership than the status of being married.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So you are not into the legal part of it. You prefer the growing together, maybe even living together,
Yep.
that part of it. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
the partnership part of it.
Okay.
Are you-
Raf,
are
you
you
wanted to
saying you
say
would not
something?
get married? Yeah, I'm asking. Are you saying you would not get married?
I would get married, sure. That's something my partner and I wanted to do, but it's not something I think that's necessary.
Okay. Completely understand. Do
Okay. I got you now.
Threw me off a little bit.
Jennifer's like,
It did throw me off because I feel like marriage is what you make it. So I'm okay. So I get you. Okay.
So the question is, do you believe that it has to be legal for it to be a marriage then? No.
No.
Is that a new question?
That
That's
is
a
a new question based on, because the thing is that the way that Carrie the way that Carrie phrased her definition of what is okay for her with regard to marriage, the part that she didn't agree with was the legal part, going to whoever, doing a church ceremony, going to courthouse, whatever, that part may not be necessary for her. But the other parts of it, she is necessary. So I'm wondering if the legal part is necessary for everyone then, since we're taking out everything else. Since we're taking out the legal part and leaving in and everything else, is the legal part necessary for everybody else? Except for Carrie. Yes, except for Carrie. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the legal part is separate from the spiritual part.
I mean, is it separate as in, would you consider yourself married if it's not legal?
Meaning, if we did not go to a church,
Yeah.
have the
Oh
pastor.
no, so the church part is the spiritual part. Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay,
legal
so
part
you
is the
would
courthouse part.
so you would consider yourself married if it's not legal, Shar, is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying, not me personally, what I'm saying is if someone had a church ceremony or some other kind of spiritual ceremony and did not sign a marriage certificate that they got from a county office, I would still consider them married.
Okay, what if people are, go ahead, Ralph, sorry, go ahead.
So I could understand where she's coming from, in the sense that growing up as a Roman Catholic, it was believed by my mother and grandmother, not by me, that if you were married in one religion, that marriage was not recognized by another religion. If you got married as a Muslim, the rest of the religion, you could call yourself married, but they wouldn't call you married. If you were married as a Roman Catholic, you could call yourself married, but the other religions didn't really honor and respect those marriages. They respect your union, right? And historically, we've got caught up in language, right? Because language is deeply tied in, rooted within our cultures. And when we use words, it's almost like, I don't want to use blasphemy now, but it's almost like when you have a truth and you let go of that truth, you can see yourself. So for us, the word marriage is tied into a truth that we believe in. So from the time we use marriage and we don't put everything that we traditionally know marriage is, we're afraid to use it. We afraid we are misusing the term. That's how I feel.
Okay.
So I agree with Carrie, and I agree with everyone. But I think it kind of ties into personally your belief system and what you think marriage is. Because you can mean something, right? And have 2 or 3 different words describe how you feel about it.
Right. Which is why I'm saying, say somebody is living with someone, which we had kind of talked about before, where we know that in Jamaica, common law marriage is normal. It is actually recognized in Jamaica. So you living with somebody for 10 years, then you're common law. You have kids, you're raising them. You guys, 7 years? 7 years. I was just throwing out a number. I'm not saying once you hit 10 years. I'm saying if you've been living with someone for 10 years. But anyway, I really don't know what the age is. But once you've been living with someone for a period of time, and you have kids and you're raising those kids and you're having sex and it can be proven that you've been living together and doing these things, it's considered common law marriage. That's not legal in America, but I think the definition of marriage is changing. And I just wanted to know if what you guys thought before we kind of moved on into, is the world changing with us? Like, is the world changing towards these different standards? So
what do married people think? The married couple on the call.
I'm waiting for that.
You know, I wanted to interject that to the extent that we discuss whether or not the legal aspect of marriage is still relevant, it is important to note that the recognition of common law unions in Jamaica is primarily a legal recognition.
Right.
It is a primary legal recognition in that, to the extent that you have shared property, built something together for a number of years, then you have a legal obligation to your partner. So if you're going to be separating, then the partner is legally obligated to a part of what you have. So
Right.
so that becomes legal protection that the government puts in for people who have invested together over the years.
Right.
So
can you really separate the two?
So that, I don't know that is consistent with the fundamental spiritual understanding of what marriage is, but that is something created by the government in order to protect people.
Right. I mean, I understand that. I think I wanted to see if now, as you said, people are kind of splitting the spirituality with the legality of it. So less and less people are saying, okay, let us do a marriage based on whatever tradition, whatever religious belief. Let's live together, have kids, and do what we want. However we want this marriage to look like, this is what we're going to do. As we progress, as we get more information, as we become technologically advanced, these things change and evolve. So what is it that you guys are seeing marriage looking like right now? I mean, for everyone, for people other than yourself, for yourself. Is it that you're saying, for you will not recognize a marriage unless it's not only legal, but also rooted in some kind of religion? Or are you saying marriage can be whatever people define it to be? So if they have no religion whatsoever and they decide they want to be married, or if they say we don't care if it's legally recognized, we're married. Are you guys completely okay with either of those things?
Let me interject, because I may not stay for the entire time. It is important to note that the city, county, state recognizes a marriage as a signed certificate.
Right.
All right. Quite frankly, there are people who you sign the certificate of marriage, and you do that even before the wedding. At the moment of signing the certificate, you are considered legally married.
Right.
And that is even before you would have done any kind of religious ceremony. And there are people who do not proceed to a religious ceremony, but may in just the legal the legal aspect of marriage.
Okay.
I think for us, there is an understanding that marriage is fundamentally spiritual.
Okay.
Yes. For me, from a Christian perspective, it is fundamentally spiritual because this was something that was instituted by God from the very beginning.
Okay.
Yes. From the very beginning, this is something instituted by God, and therefore it is fundamentally spiritual. over the years, people have had different experiences in
Okay.
marriage. Yes. And because people have had different experiences, unfavorable experiences, undesired experiences in marriage, then there have been moves to redefine the institution of marriage. And this has been borne out primarily because people have found their own marriage unfulfilling. Yes,
Right.
unsatisfied, and the desires that were to be met were not there. So against that background, people still want the benefits that accrues from marriage,
Mm-hmm.
but they feel that there's something fundamental that needs to be changed in order not to experience what they've experienced before, what they saw their parents experience, or what they saw their friends experience.
Right.
But I would like to submit that I don't know that there is anything that is fundamentally wrong with the institution of marriage. I find that the institution of marriage is quite okay. It is people that get engaged in marriage. It is people that get into the marriage, and therefore it is the people that are in the marriage that makes for the experience of the other individual, and not for the institution by itself. All
Okay.
right. I'm just to interject. You're gonna find a little bit of movement here and there because our little person is
Yeah,
here.
that's fine. We
All
get
right.
it.
Um, but fundamentally, I don't know that there's something fundamentally wrong with the institution. I
Okay.
find that it is a people that have engaged the institution that have made it what it is. And here's another issue. I find that marriage is one of the things that people go into least prepared for.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
People,
we
people
can definitely discuss that.
I mean, people don't seem to be prepared. You consider that there's a career that you want, and you go to school for 7 years and 10 years in order to prepare for that career. And even
Right.
if you're prepared for that career, even after you've gotten those degrees, depending on your profession, there are some board exams that you have to pass. There's a bar exam that you have to pass. There are other certifications that you're going to need. And right throughout the process of your career, there are updating that you have to do right throughout. There is
Right.
preparation for your career. But
Agreed.
for marriage, for the business of sharing your life with another individual, people don't seem to take time to prepare for that, and
Right.
so you find that thing falls apart. And one of the things is that the human being is dynamic in that we say that all living organisms grow. Right? The human being is dynamic. You get married at 20. There are substantial issues about yourself as a human being that you have not yet discovered. Right? So throughout that period of time, you're discovering yourself. And then you have another person
Right.
that you have to also get to know and understand, who is
Right.
changing every day. So
Right.
there's a moving goalpost. So what you thought you knew yesterday, tomorrow it's something different because the person is growing. So for me, I find that people may need to take time to prepare for the process of marriage. And here's
Okay.
why. The individual you invite to spend the rest of your life with, as Kerry has pointed out, is literally called a life partner. That's what it is. Life partner. This is the individual with whom you partner through life. Yes? And the way you prepare for that is to develop an appreciation of life and what life can consist of and where life can take you. Life can be up, life can be down. Wherever life goes, this is a person who partners with you through life. And I don't propose these things because this is something I knew all along, but this is something I learned through the process of marriage. You'll be amazing the schoolmaster that marriage is. it's, a,
I
it's, a,
mean, I figure.
so these are things that I've learned through the process of time. Life by itself is difficult. Life by itself is challenging. And therefore, a person that you invite to partner with you, commit to partner with you through life, will have to have, first and foremost, an appreciation of that reality. It's not bed of roses. And even roses have some sticky things on
Thorns.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rafa, I do want to there are many questions that I have just based on what you just said, but I did want to give Rafa a chance to say I realized that he had thoughts as Darren was speaking. So I'm gonna ask you to say what you were thinking. So that go ahead,
Well,
Ralph.
I think that was a great answer, and we had an entire discourse on marriage in like 3 minutes here. But we started with legal versus religious, and as far as I know from my studies on this, um, the institution, as Darren said, the institution of marriage, and that word institution, it was ordained by God, and it actually became that an institution when church and state joined later on. And then after when church and state separated, marriage had to be, marriage was still part of state and accepted as part of church. Now, as human beings, human beings of different religions, we all believe in those religions, and we believe we first look to God, right? Whereas marriage, as he said, a marriage ceremony, yes, actually a marriage ceremony is really that ceremony that you do with a witness in front of a judge. That's the person that tells you you're married, because you could get married all how you want in a church. It would not be considered legal. And it begs the question, well, why? And there are a lot of other socioeconomic issues or concerns I have, because when two people within a state become married, what they're actually doing is they're joining those people. Those people, for all intents and purposes, become wards of each other, as opposed to ever the state. They also end up in a higher tax bracket, so they pay more taxes. They have a lot of other They have a lot of implications that the government, they encourage marriage while they don't necessarily push family. So I'm all for marriage, for all the good things that come with marriage, But I do understand why it's separate and different when you look at it legally versus with your religion. And I do agree with all the things he said about learning yourself and learning who you are within a marriage and within that institution. These things, like everything else in life, I don't think there are too many things to get into that aren't challenging. Marriage is just something that you're really supposed to spend your life with that person, so it becomes really important. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, the way you choose your meals, the way you choose your partners, the way you choose your education, all these things impact you for many years later. And yeah.
I do want to follow up with one of the questions that one of the points that Darren brought up with a question. Do you guys bring your paper? Ask you guys to bring a paper.
We're good students.
You're a good student. Shar, where is your paper? Okay, so the first question I wanted to ask. So in the 1900s, women were getting married at an average age of about 22, and men were getting married at about 26. So what do you guys think? I want you to write down what you think do not use your phone, is the average age that women and men are getting married right now.
Right now?
Are they different
Yeah,
age?
right now. Well, I would say in the last, right now.
No, I mean for women and men, different ages? Are
different ages for
okay.
women and for men. So what age do you think? Don't look at your phone.
Look, not the same thing. We're not even looking at each other.
Really?
Average age?
Average age, women, average age for men. Two different numbers.
Two different numbers. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, let me see. I'm curious. Let me see what you guys have up now. Let me see on the screen. You don't have to show your face. Hold it up so I can see. Lord Ralph, that is the tiniest. 36 for women, 42
35.
for 35 for women, 42 for men. Okay.
42 respectively.
Okay, Carrie, let me see yours. 30 and 36. Okay. Oi. What is that? 30 and 35. Okay, for both of you. And Lord, Shar, hold on, back up. Women is 25, men is 35. So everybody kind of has 35, 36 for men. and varying ranges for women. So the real answer is 27 for women and 29 for men. But the reason the reason, yes, first time marriages. But I want to point out that only 29% of American women are married between the ages of 18 to 35. So the idea is that the perception of people getting married older is definitely there. I feel like women are prioritizing a lot more before they're prioritizing marriage right now. Do you think that men are prioritizing getting married right now? Is that no? I see lots of head shaking. I want somebody to jump in and tell me why they think men are not prioritizing marriage.
Well, what I want to say first is those statistics, they sound beautiful, but I want to add to that that black people as a whole get married older than all the other races.
That's correct.
And
black
those
people,
numbers might be
you
more,
can add it.
those
You
numbers
can
might
add
be more,
it. Sorry,
more
go ahead.
representative of other people. And bearing in mind that we somewhere between 13 and 15% of the population,
Right.
they are, those numbers may be well biased.
No. So the thing is that while I was doing my research, this is women overall. This is women not based on race or religion or any of these things.
You understand my numbers I just called here?
Black
if we have 13
women,
to 15% of all people
yes,
in the country, then
I
that's
understand
very small.
that.
Okay.
While I was doing my research, also I realized that we need to add 5 years to those numbers. So we're looking at like 34 years for men and what was the other number? 32. Yeah, 32 for women. So yes, what you guys have is correct, which is what I'm saying. The perception is that women, both men and women, but as we're getting older, we're waiting to get married. And I'm wondering why that is. Is it that people are not? And the reason I say men is because we can always discuss separately on this podcast, why is it that women are not prioritizing marriage? That could be a whole topic, a whole different but while you guys are here, I want to know in your circles, why is it that men are not prioritizing marriage? If that's even the case, maybe they are, but they can't find women who are prioritizing marriage, and so it's not an option for them. So I just kind of want to get some insight into why men aren't prioritizing marriage sooner.
I'll let the married guy lead.
There's a dynamic between men and women that is significant with these considerations concerned. It is difficult for men to get married earlier, while those to whom they would like to marry prefer to get married later, right? So first and foremost, there is the availability of the partner, because the partner prioritizes, the potential partner rather, prioritizes career and other things before marriage. Then when, and I'm gonna say this, maybe Raf might be able to pick up on this with me. After most women, after they have gathered a career and amassed property and so forth and so on, there's this perception. I don't know if it is real, but there's this perception that there's a degree of independence that comes with that, especially for Black women. And so Black men feel that this becomes a little more difficult, because literally you appear that you have everything you need. So what is my role? What is the angle? What is the angle from which I approach you?
What you want from me, ma'am?
What is the angle from which I approach you? What am I going to be bringing to you? I've had these situations where I've counseled with people where the husband would say to me that the wife clearly states from time to time, you know that I don't need to be here. I can get up and go. You know, those kind of things becomes a little bit more intimidating for a man, and here's why. A man, believe it or not, needs peace of mind. That's what he needs. He needs peace of mind. He needs peace. He
Raf
just
would
can't.
like to agree.
And he needs peace of mind. He needs to come home to a home that is needed, that is appreciated, that his presence is welcomed, is recognized, is contributed, that there's a contribution that is making. And this feeling of not being needed becomes a little bit intimidating for him. And so the conversation becomes, no, Raf, what is the angle from which from which men approach really who are successful women? And where we don't have successful women, then we have women who have had a life before, and so they have 2 or 3 children and so forth. And the man will have to decide, okay, 2 or 3 grown children, okay, um, how do I approach, right? And it is not that he doesn't want it, it is how does he approach? And I think that is one of the issues that is probably contributing to the delay in marriage where men are
Are
concerned.
concerned.
Yeah, so those 2 issues. I'm gonna put it down to intimidation and
Okay.
not sure how he approaches or what his contribution is going to be.
Okay, Raf, I want you to jump in now.
We sit on two very different thrones here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
being a husband and a father within a
yes,
marriage. And
yes.
so why don't men prioritize marriage? That's the question.
Mhm.
I honestly I think again it comes down to it ties deeply within your customs and your culture again. I think in America, for example, like American men, right? Black people in America, again, we were always at a disadvantage. People don't like to hear it. I'm not saying we're disadvantaged people or you at a loss because of it, right? But we start off at a disadvantage as Black people in America, right? In the Caribbean, I think growing up in the Caribbean, men prioritize marriage much more, but not necessarily because um, not the number one reason I think they did it. It was because it was so customary. It was part of the culture. It was frowned upon, depending on where you were with your religion or your socio-economic position, right? And I think people judged you more. There was more judgment, so you were forced into action, right? I'll fast forward to what this gentleman was talking about in terms of my opinion with successful women, right? But I think in this country here, everything is already beaten down on that Black man, right? And there's this misconception. I don't even know if it's a perception, it's a complete misconception that because we write in your taxes that men are the head of the household, that they actually are, right? I think women have led the household in the Caribbean and in Black America,
Right.
right? Forever. And um, a guy may have the idea of marriage and may know this is where he wants to be at some point in life, but I think the woman actually makes that decision. I think the woman chooses the man more than we like to admit. You know what I mean? So I don't think we don't prioritize because someone else really does that for us. If you grew up in a church, right? Or you grew up, because I've been not part of many religions, but I've been around in many relationships, for example, and I would completely buy into if I was married to this girl or had this girlfriend, I would go to whatever church, I would go with them, right? I've seen it everywhere. The men, of course, we want to believe we are running the show,
Right.
but with certain things, I think the women really make those decisions, and we make ourselves available to these women when they do.
Okay.
So
So
Darian, is it Darian? I don't want to keep calling you the wrong name.
Daron.
Daron,
Yes.
Daron. Okay, if brother,
If brother D.
brother D,
There we go.
hey, Right, right. You're killing me over here. But anyway, yeah, I think we love the idea of having a significant other, right? And two things I want to just point out in terms of prioritizing marriage is that in the Caribbean, I remember the idea of marriage. I see it in Jamaica as well. If you go to a Frenchman party and you with a girl for a certain length of time, and you're not married to her, they will look down on you. But if you're in any hood or in anywhere where people recognize and respect each other no matter what they do for work, you could be in a common law relationship and not be judged, right? So I think there's a lot of classism that kind of points you in a direction as to where you're going to go. Now, the last thing I want to touch on what Brother D said. Brother D is of the opinion in his experience that it's difficult to approach successful women. And I do agree that there's a large contingent of men that may have that problem, right? But I've had no shortage of successful women. I'm single. No, I'm not saying that this is not a me thing. I think it's an excuse that we as men make for not really doing the right thing. Now he could make is a great point coming from him because he's married, right? So when he says men are not doing this and it, well, he's married, so it looks good. When he said, if I say the same thing, for me it becomes a crutch,
Right.
which I'll be lying if I said it's difficult to, and my good friend Kerry will attest. I only have successful, beautiful black women around me. Not that I'm fortunate to get to be with them, but like my friends. So I know these women are approachable.
Right.
Right? I know these women. I think if there's a problem, right? I think very few men are intimidated by women. I think where he may have a point is that in terms of when you in this relationship with a woman who you may believe may be more successful than you, right? It's not really what you need me for, but are you gonna respect me in the same way in this relationship? I think men have that fear, right, of ridicule. More than the fact that they're intimidated. They're not intimidated. A guy will sleep with whatever is there. Not me, not Brother D. But men don't study color, class, creed, or race, right? When it comes to sex, like we had a conversation with a white woman and I said black woman will marry a white man if she's in love. A black woman will go to a white woman if it's Tuesday. You know what I mean? So back to the priority, not me, of course, but from my observations.
Never rough. It's never been rough.
But
Never
I
rough.
think there's a cultural aspect to this about as Raf is talking about ridicule or it, and I wish we could break some of our cultural scripts sometimes because there's an evolution, right? Because there was a time, quite frankly, that whether women were even allowed to work or allowed to go to school or were capable of completing school based on whether their familial responsibilities and whatever. And there was a time where men had to be, I don't want to call it head of a household because I feel like a man can still be head of a household, but they had to be a breadwinner, for example.
Right.
And now, as time and culture is changing and evolving, there are a lot of women who could be their own breadwinner, right? But I think our culture and our cultural expectations need to probably change, or not change, just evolve to open up to different possibilities where there's a woman, she is financially stable, but when you're talking about a relationship and partnership, it's not just finance, right? There's an aspect of it, it's finance, but to me, that's just like someone's determination and hard work. It's not just their monetary worth, right? That's not the goal. But there's other parts of relationship that clearly even someone who has all the money or all the education they need or want, that they're looking for in a partnership. But I think culturally, sometimes we fall back on what's fun or the lowest common denominator, which is, oh, you can't provide for your woman. Like that, you know, that's how we kind of talk in jest in our community, right? Like, oh, you don't have no money, she's not respecting you in the house, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the jest, that's the joke, or whatever, because men aren't supposed to be emotional, they aren't supposed to be fulfilling other roles. And of course, Darren and Raf, you guys are probably more holistic and definitely more in tune than other guys. But there is a whole host of a person outside of their education.
Absolutely.
Like when you get educated, you're only educated in like Sophie is in math. I'm educated in biostatistics. I'm not world renowned educated. You know, like you're doing it to get a job or to fulfill some other goals, and you get a paycheck. That is like point whatever of who you are and who you will be and what you will contribute. So I wish we could inject some wider expectations of our men, and some wider expectations of our women, so that, you know, it wouldn't be like you have to worry about being respected in your home or worry about being like the head of a household. I mean, like, I feel like if you're in a partnership with someone, you should be okay sharing the head. You should be okay submitting to a partner, because the partner should be okay to submit to you. Like, I just feel like there's so much more to it, but sometimes in our culture, there is a strong thing of, are you providing, or are you the one that's bringing in most of the money? And if you're not, what are you doing? Like, make sure you can mow the lawn, because you need to be doing some other manly stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
But that
I
never
think
comes
that's
from the guy. That comes
you're-
from the woman.
You're absolutely right. And when I speak about intimidation, I'm not speaking of it as a legitimate concern. I'm sharing with you that, as a matter of fact, these are the issues that sometimes influence people's decisions. And Shara is very true. The question of providing becomes fundamental to, quote unquote, the usefulness of a man in his household. It is fundamental, especially those of us who are of Afro-Caribbean background. You are expected to be a provider. If you grew up in the small community where I grew, and you are not providing, there are terms that people describe that most of our listeners
Not the terms.
not understand. So I probably wouldn't even go there with it, but there are terms to describe you. So there's an expectation that you're supposed to provide. I've had conversations with people about these things. For me, as a Caribbean man, when I just came to the United States, I I got married to a woman who made significantly more money than I did. That's the bottom line. And then I then therefore understand, okay, you then have to adjust, say, okay, there are things that I feel I must be responsible for. Personally, there are things in my home that I feel I must be responsible for. I think I must pay the mortgage. I think it's my responsibility to provide a home for my family. This is me. That maybe that's not everybody else, but that's me. I feel I must pay the mortgage. I feel that the bills must be paid as much as possible. And therefore, I feel that whatever I earned in my partner, and I sit down and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do with that. But Caribbean men have been, I've been socialized to believe that your fundamental worth in your marriage is to provide, and also to provide children. You know, your usefulness, people look at you funny if you're in a relationship for a while and you're not able to.
Someone didn't take that too far.
Yeah, there are no children coming. People start to say things, and so those things impact the way people think. But Shara is right. I think we need to graduate to a broader understanding of what it means to be the head and the leader in your home. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having these roles. Somebody who leads, somebody who's the head. Leadership is a difficult thing, and if you have somebody you can put around, then it may well be good for you. It's a challenging thing. So there are many different areas in the home, in the marriage, that the man can lead, instead of defining himself so narrowly, purely as an economic provider.
Yep, I
I just
agree.
want
And
to
I
just say
think
really quickly, this idea of being a provider, especially as we're thinking about the question that Mish asks, right? We're talking about women who are in this now state of, I'm a feminist, I got all of these things going on, right? This role of provider, to Shar, right, and Darren's point, there's a need to evolve that role where the provider isn't connected to just your home, because the home is there, right? But what does that look like in synergy with your partner? What are you working on together, right? Because in my mind, that's where the provision comes in, right? So it answers that question of, well, what do you need from me as this woman who's done, right? The successful woman in our minds who's, has a house, her car, and seems to have her things together. It's less about providing this physical space and more about providing emotional, all the other parts of me, right? And you, that we complement each other. So it's almost like, how can we evolve this idea of provider to fit where we are now?
right.
Yeah. And if I may further that point, here's what I learned in marriage. Here's what I learned in marriage. And I think some of this evolution will have to take place over time. We have to find a way to help our men to move to that space. I've learned this. Most women, successful or not, doesn't marry who you are, but they marry who you will be.
Potential of you.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They marry the potential of you. They will take you where you are, and they see potential. And the partnership says, okay, this is what I know you can be. This is what where I know you can go. Let us work on this together.
Right.
It's not that you necessarily become her project. This is both the project. The project is both of you. Both of you are going to work together to get to this place where I believe you can be. And then the husband provides that similar support to his wife. For as successful as she is, there are still goals that she wants to reach. There are still places she wants to go. You work on that together to develop characteristically, personality-wise, and especially the development of a person's character. Partnership, big partner, if your partner does not contribute to the development of your character as a person, then the partnership is literally futile. No matter how much money you're providing, no matter how much sex you're providing, it doesn't, your character as a person, your partner must contribute to that.
Ralph, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. I think you have just taken on your role as a teacher or coach, because what you have described is the ideal marriage. In the ideal marriage, these are the things that, right? And I would love to see. I've not been seeing that in the Black community for so long. I would agree that if you look at in white relationships, the woman and man will get married. One will go to school, one will take care of the home, then the other will go to school. The other will. You seldom see that in the Black family. In the Black family, what I've seen from a very young age was you have one, if one facilitated the other one would believe that they have outgrown the first one. And they actually want to find somebody on their level, you know. And I've seen it with a lot of my friends, male and female. I've seen where women have gone to school. The man may not have paid for the school, but he facilitated the lifestyle when he was doing something like construction or whatever menial job. And after, they would tell that guy, because I see that happen to a couple. My friends did it to men. You know what I mean? And you see it's prevalent in the Black home, in the Black community, sorry, where now they want to level up. And this guy is 10 years in, the wrong direction, no growth. And now he's out there now looking for a girl probably 10 years his junior who's going to look up to him because that's what he could get there. He could just now be this figure that she will respect, when his suitor, the person who you would think he should be with, should be ready to reciprocate, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
And I'm seeing it. I've seen it many a time. So I think in what you're describing is the ideal situation, maybe your situation, on a situation that I would love to see for my people. Because even though I'm single, I still don't feel disadvantaged. You know, but while I don't feel disadvantaged, I would not wear rose-colored glasses. You know what I mean? Because what you're speaking about is close to mythical in the neighborhoods I grew up in. You see it every so often. I'll be very honest though. Where I see the best preparation for marriage from a young age has always been in the church. I've never seen it in the Roman Catholic Church, mind you, but I've always seen it in other type of Christian churches. For the most part, my experience has allowed me. You see the best pressure, but not just for marriage, for life. Because those points you made earlier about preparation for life, education, and everything, there's a foundation in the church, regardless of your beliefs on religion. The church prepare young people for their futures. So I'm here to speak to what this marriage would look like. We are looking from two different places, Brother D. And we're just having two different experiences.
Yeah, indeed, and I mean, I understand those nuances, in fact, but fundamentally, it is the way it should be. It's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
And that is what partnership
means.
On
a Sunday, I agree.
Yeah, and it is that's what partnership means. And those examples you have cited are things that I've seen, that I've experienced myself. People do that. And that is why we talk about preparation for partnership. Understand what partnership means. This is life partnership. And as I said, these are things that I've learned and continue to learn through the schoolmaster of marriage, right? You know, it is life partnership. And where is life going to take me tomorrow? Irrespective of where life is today, where is it going to take me tomorrow? And who am I going to go on that journey with, right? I may be up today, but if I'm down tomorrow, do I have a partner that is going to be down there with me and help me and pulling me back up? Can my partner depend on me for the very same thing? And that is why marriage becomes important, because partnership demands commitment. Fundamental to marriage is commitment, right? My wife can tell you that there are days when I get on her last nerve that she don't like me very much. This is what it is. She don't like me very much, and so on that particular day, she's not with me because she likes me. She's with me because she's committed.
Right. Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So marriage is about. I've learned that marriage is about commitment, and not, and that is why partnership is important. You must be able to depend on your partner to do their part.
Right.
I agree 100%. 100%.
You guys had talked about also, as you were talking, I realized that a lot of what you were talking about, I think I see the reason why women have decided that it was better to get married later. As we've evolved and as the concept of the feminist movement has evolved, I think women have realized that they can do all of these things and use it as a marketing tool to get women. To get men, sorry. I have a degree. I can make my own money. I can take care of the house. I can do all these things. And then the men I don't want to say they haven't learned to also, there's no like men development movement. Because men have always been placed in this, they've been always been put on this pedestal. They're the ones that make the money. They're the one that determines about the children. They're the ones that do all these things. And prior to now, women didn't have these rights. And now we're like, oh, we have these rights. We can do this. And in addition to that, if you go into a relationship and you're like, take care of me, she needs to be able to make her own money. You need to make your own money. You need to be able to take care of the house. You need to do all of these things. And so it's taking more time to develop yourself as a person. You can't do this at 20 anymore. You can't have a degree, take care of the house, make your own money, develop yourself, all of these by the time you're 20. I don't think men at this point are concerned about those things and have these goals. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out based on what you were saying, because you guys were talking about how women determine the age that they get married, and men just have to go along with it. And I think that is why it has been determined. Okay, so say now you guys are in a relationship.
Wait, Mish, I will say this. I think something, Ryan and I were talking about this before, about how women drive the bus in marriage. Because
Right.
you can be in a relationship and everybody's good. We're having a good old time. But Raf pointed out to me, he said, often men propose because they think the woman is ready. And they will know when the woman's ready, because we're going to make it clear when we're ready to get married. So I wanted to share that with the group to get a sense of, has that been your experience, that women are driving the bus on engagement and subsequent marriage?
Happens to me all the time.
You know, Terry, I wanted to interject on Misha, so I'm glad you did.
You literally said all the time.
I'm glad you did, because I wanted to interject, because I would say, in my experience, and I don't know if I won't say it's Jamaican, but as a Jamaican, my experience, whether in my family or families I'm exposed to, like when I was growing up through church or home or whatever, I would say Jamaica is a very matriarchal society, in my opinion. Because even though my grandfather, I won't lie, he was like the head of the household. My grandma gave him food a specific way, like rice must separate, salad. Like he was definitely the man. However, I still
in my house.
no. Okay, so this is what I saw from like some aunts. This is what I saw from my grandparents. So it seemed like, and definitely like when you think of discipline and strength, it was certainly my grandfather and certainly the men, but I would still say my family's matriarchal, because the whole foundation and bracket of all of that was through my grandmother. Like she was providing that for him as a wife. She was providing nurturing for the kids. She was the one that was, he gave the money, but she was the one that was quick with, I'm gonna make this serve for 13 kids. I'm gonna take care of my nieces and nephews. I got the community. Like to me, it was very woman centric to me growing up in Jamaica. And so I always kind of felt that even if you had education or not as a woman or whatever, I feel like there was a strong sense in growing up, pro-marriage, pro-relation, pro-child, pro-mother. Like that's a strong, I don't know, strain in how I grew up. Like this need for partnership, child, marriage, romance, and household to kind of mother over or whatever. So even though in Jamaica, I would say we have lots of successful women and people are doing all those things, I feel like we're kind of simultaneously doing it in Jamaica. I don't know anywhere else, but I feel like it's something that's happening hand in hand and not necessarily separate.
Even now, that's what I was. So that's the question: is even now is
or even though it would still be desirable,
right? So the idea of all of that is yes, but I'm saying the added pressure that women face to have it all. So see, like how your grandmother had all of those things, yes, but she right now it feels like if you don't have, before the woman did all those things. The man came in, he went out into the field, did whatever, take care of the house, was the breadwinner. Now that may not be the case. Now the woman have to go to work, come in, cook the dinner, take care of the kids, all of these things, in addition to doing all of the other things. That's what I'm saying, is that that
needs to evolve.
What the hell? Can I say something about that?
Yes, of course.
I think a lot of times when we speak in a vacuum and we don't look at the bigger picture. The two-income household came around after the Second World War, right? Women went out to work when men were in the war. When they came back, because of the type of economies we lived in, they had to be two-income households, right? At the core, I like to look at a relationship. The man is the body and the woman is the mind, right? Like what she is saying is absolutely true, and I'm almost sure it holds true for all of us and anybody that stopped to pay attention that how a family is run. A guy could say what he wants. You looked up your father, you know, he could shout how loud he wants. At the end of the day, that woman is making certain major decisions about what the direction that family is going in, right? Um, my father and myself have a close relationship. My mother and myself have a close relationship. I've always believed, right, that my father will do what he could do, and my mother will do what she has to do. And they are both great parents. Women make kids and they are nurturers. Women are strong emotionally. Men are physically strong, right? But we are not emotionally strong the way women are. So the burdens that you bear in raising a family, men, we can't really bear those burdens. This is my belief. Some of those headaches, I will defer to the woman I'm with because she will do a better job. And that's why I think women lead the families. Man, I'm not saying that a man is a figurehead in a family. And I know it doesn't sound good, Brother D. And I know you run your home. She better put that food out on the table tonight, right? But sometimes we ask these questions, right? If she doesn't do this, right? This rule that men, especially sometimes you have these hardcore Jamaican or West Trinidadian, West Indian men or Latino men that try to, if she say no, what you gonna do? Beat her? That's all they could probably do back then, right? Now if that happened and she leave, you know, everything fall down. This guy is drinking, this guy. You know, so I think women run the home. And I think to speak to the point about women, you're making it seem like hard work kills people. If we have family and Kerry is making $150,000 a year.
Okay.
I am making, hold on, I'm making $60,000 a year. And the babysitter bill is $70,000 a year.
Right.
Who's gonna stay home? Kerry. Hell no. It does not make sense.
Right.
I have to stay home. These it's just ignorance, right? To believe that because you look a particular way or you're a particular sex or you buy into a certain gender role, that you know that this is how a family is going to be run and function well, right? It wouldn't work. It just doesn't make sense. So I think a lot of these things are personal. When you get into a relationship with that person, you all have to leave egos at the door, men and women. A man can't talk about, oh, I'm the man, and a woman can't say, well, I'm working now, so I can't. If I like to cook, great, I'll cook. Maybe on a weekend you might cook because we could always buy food if you mess that up. No, but like you know, y'all get in that relationship and make it work.